Hey guys, it's Louisa Nicola. I'm a neurophysiologist and brain coach to elite performers. I keep getting asked from both coaches and athletes how they can help themselves or their athletes fall asleep faster. I get this question almost every single day. So we're going to attack it in this clip, because if you aren't sleeping, it doesn't even matter if you're not an elite athlete. If you are not sleeping, you are dramatically increasing your chances of having reduced cognitive performance, slower reaction time, increased anger and irritability, increased anger. So many bad things happen just from one night of sleep deprivation, because sleep is the most underrated high performance tool that we have. So let's attack this issue. One thing that we need to know is when people have sleep complaints, okay, they're generally two different things. One is, hey, I'm having trouble falling asleep. The second is, I'm having trouble staying asleep. This one, having trouble staying asleep, is for another YouTube clip. So let's attack this. I'm having trouble falling asleep. Sleep latency, that's what it's called, okay? So also known as sleep onset. And it refers to the amount of time that it takes a person to transition from being awake to being fully asleep. And it should take around 10 to 20 minutes, okay, in healthy adults. If you are going above that, then there's something wrong. And generally, if it's taking you, 20, 30, 40 minutes to fall asleep, you've probably got too much stress happening in your brain. You're probably thinking too much about what happened during the day. You're probably a new mother or a new father. You're thinking about the kids. You're just stressed. And this really affects how you fall asleep. And, it's interesting because some people just stay in bed, which is like the worst thing that you could do. If you're still in bed after 30 or 40 minutes and you haven't slept yet, you should most definitely get up and walk around, because chances are you're probably going to be tossing and turning for the next half an hour. And then that's a 1 hour sleep latency. On the other hand, for me, for example, last night, my sleep latency was 3 minutes. And that's also bad, because it wants to take us, like I said, about 5 to 10 minutes to fall asleep. So if it's at 3 minutes, that means I'm overtired, and that it didn't take me long at all to fall asleep. So that's also a problem. But sleep latency, often 30 minutes or more, as I said, can be the result of many things: stress, anxiety, poor sleep hygiene, stimulants, caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of around 5 to 6 hours, so it stays in the system. Even if you think it's not affecting you, it is, and it shows up in our sleep data. So for those of you who know what sleep data is, I'm talking about an Oura Ring. Okay, I wear this and I track all of my athletes with this, and I'm not sponsored by Oura Ring by any means, but I definitely think that if you are serious about coaching your athletes to perform better, you need to know what wearable technology is. And this is everything that we teach in the Neuroathletics Coaching Certificate. We teach you how to read wearable technology. It's 2023. We now have access to technology from Whoop, from Oura Ring, from the Apple Watch. So we can now really strip away all of the parts that increase peak performance and get into it. But most of the time, people are not understanding. They're wearing their Oura Rings, they're wearing their Whoop straps, so they're not really understanding the data, which I think is absolutely insane. You're pretty much wasting your money as a coach and an athlete if you don't know how to read the data and optimize the data. So if you open up your Oura Ring, you'll see there's deep sleep, REM sleep, sleep latency, sleep efficiency. So it'll tell you how long it takes you to fall asleep. So we've also got medications as well. Medications for chronic pain, heart disease, respiratory disorders. If you're taking any form of prescription drug, it can also interfere with sleep latency. Okay, so that's sleep latency. Now, what can we do if we are having trouble falling asleep and our sleep latency is like 30 or 40 minutes? I want to talk about Gaba. Gaba. GABA stands for gamma aminobutyric acid. And It's a neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitters are chemical messengers. We've got many of them, and they're all responsible for different things. So we can do a bit of a crash course. And if you have a look at the screen, you will see that you've got this neuron. Okay, neuron is a nerve cell, and we've got around 87 billion of them. 87 billion of them, making around 30,000 connections per neuron. Huge, right? That's so energy consuming, so energy sucking. That's what the brain does. It just sucks the energy out of you. 20% of our total calories that we ingest is being eaten away by the brain, and it's because of these neurons. So when one neuron, as you can see here, we've got the axon, it comes down and it connects to another neuron. When it does that, it creates a synapse, and then there's an enlarged photo right next to it. And you can see the two neurons coming together, and all of these, this is the synaptic cleft, if you will. These little red dots are the neurotransmitters. So they go from one neuron to the next. And these neurotransmitters, depending on which one fires, it tells the neighboring neuron what to do. So if it is glutamate, it will tell it to be excitatory. Okay, but if it is GABA, it is inhibitory. So GABA is the chief inhibitory neurotransmitter, and it's known mostly by people as being like a very crucial neurotransmitter that's involved with anxiety. So people who have anxiety disorders, people who are having trouble falling asleep, who are really, really stressed, are known to have low levels of GABA. And it turns out that GABA, as a supplement, can make us feel very calm because it's involved in muscle tone regulation. It's got calming effects of the nervous system. It promotes relaxation and sleep. It plays a huge role in the stress response. So having low GABA is linked to these disorders that are probably keeping you up and that are not allowing you to fall asleep. But how does it work? Okay, so as I mentioned, GABA supplements are commonly used to help reduce feelings of anxiety. But I use, and I get my athletes, and this is what I teach my coaches in the NAC course, I get them to help their athletes supplement with GABA because it's pretty much a natural remedy for sleep disorders and sleep insomnia, if you will. But here's the problem, okay? So if you can see here, I have a diagram right here of the brain, okay? And there's some blood vessels that you can see. Enlarged is a portion of the blood vessel, which is known as the blood-brain barrier. So we have this protective barrier on our brain, which doesn't allow for certain molecules to go in. And that's great, right? Because we don't want everything to just seep through our brain. And GABA as a molecule is very, very big. So it's been said that a significant point of concentration regarding GABA supplementation is the fact that it can't cross the blood-brain barrier. So why are we getting people to supplement with it? Why does it help us if it can't cross the blood-brain barrier and have an effect? Well, it actually affects the vagal part. So it's still getting into the central nervous system and acting and enhancing GABA levels in our body through the vagal peripheral system. So that's pretty important to know. So GABA, if you're having trouble falling asleep, is one of the best things that you could be taking. I supplement actually with GABA probably around 4 times a week. And that's just because I have a high stress job. I've got a lot of things coming up. We've got the NAC program, but not just that. I'm also just really wanting to optimize my sleep. So I'm doing everything I can to do that. So I'm supplementing with 250 milligrams of GABA about 4 or 5 nights a week. And I got to tell you, I'm falling asleep within 5 to 10 minutes, and it is just luxurious. It is amazing because sometimes my mind is crazy. I go through a lot of things in my head and I hate it. I don't want that. I want to be able to just have a very clean sleep and be able to fall asleep and stay asleep. So I hope this has helped you in, helping you with your journey. Some other things that you can be doing is relaxation techniques. Now that we know that the one thing keeping us up and keeping us from falling asleep and staying asleep is a stressed mind, then do some calming things. Don't get on your computer at 11 o'clock at night and answer emails, because that's going to excite you. It's going to excite your brain. You don't want that. You want to bring your brain into a calm state so it can release all of the endogenous Gaba, endogenous from within. Exogenous is having the supplements, okay? Not a bad thing, but we don't want to really get stuck on supplements. This is only if, you really, really need it. Also, before you do anything, make sure you go and consult with your physician before you take anything into your diet. Other than that, I hope you like this. If you are someone, like if you're a coach or you're an athlete and you don't understand any of this stuff, this is like one of the 50 things that we cover in the NAC course. So if you are interested in signing up, just go and click the link below. Learn more about me, learn more about the Neuroathletics Coaching Certificate that we only run 4 times a year. It's a very exclusive 2-day event. We only run this 2 times a year because it's so hands-on, and we kick people out because we only want a small group of people. We usually do 2 groups of 20 4 times a year. So make sure you go through, go and talk to one of our representatives at Neuroathletics. They'll take you through the entire program. Go and have a look at some of the modules that we do as well. But other than that, I hope you learned something. If you did, put in the comments below.